What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Bourbon and Bass. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Pretty cool episode going on right now. You guys saw me tease Jefferson Oceans last week for this one. That's going to be the bourbon. And, we're going to skip techniques a little bit for this episode of the Bass version. It's probably something I should have started with. It's going to tell you more about me, my heroes, and why it is and who's responsible for what I'm doing today. But thank you guys for watching. Again, great responses, great reception. So you guys keep the comments and feedback coming, and we'll keep coming to you. Guys, this week on the bourbon section, we talked about Jefferson Oceans. And if you guys are not familiar with Jefferson Oceans, it's a really cool one. This is actually a collection. This was actually Voyage 14. And if you guys are not familiar with Jefferson Oceans, look it up. Every voyage has a story behind it. And as you guys know, I like a bourbon that I can tell a story behind. Guys, aged at sea. The last year of the voyage of all of the Jefferson Oceans collections are aged at sea. And every one has ship logs that go with it that tell the story of why this bourbon is what it is and why the taste is there. Voyage 14 in the ship log, it talks about how they had an incredibly active hurricane season. So these barrels are put on ships. This particular one went all the way down to the Panama Canal in 2017, which was his last voyage. They had like 20 named storms that year, so you can imagine a lot of sloshing around, and you guys don't realize how much that makes a difference in the taste of bourbon. The sloshing around, the changing of temperatures, everything goes into to the taste you get with a bourbon and the strength that it is. A really cool story, Jefferson Oceans. And again, guys, this is another one that's not real easy to find. As a matter of fact, this isn't even mine. This is actually one of my best friends actually gave me this and said, man, here, do the story on it. And all. I was like, man, it was an honor to be able to do that. But Jefferson's Oceans Voyage 14, guys, it has a whole story on it. Get on it, read it. Really cool story behind it. Really cool concept behind all their voyages. There's several different ones. They're typically aged 6 to 8 years, but guys, a lot of these voyages cross the equator at least 4 times in their aging process. So neat story, guys. You got to, if you're a big collector, you're a history buff, this is one you definitely need to look into. This is Voyage 14 right here. A lot of the sloshing around, and they're all made in American oak barrels and stuff, and you kind of get, and I have a little bit poured for me here, you kind of get that, you get a lot of oak with this one, and that's really the reason for it, is because they had such an active hurricane season, and that ship went through a lot of rough seas that year, that you get a lot of oak behind it. And I can definitely taste it as well. This is cask strength too, guys, so this is like 112 proof. So it's a little spicy, but it is super smooth and definitely one of my favorite ones out there. So, Voyage 14 Oceans, pretty cool one, good story behind it. And for the bass fishing part of the show, I wrap my head around every single day leading up to the next Wednesday of what I'm going to talk about. I went through flipping hooks and jerk baits and stuff like that. But, there's one that I probably should have started with when I first started this bourbon and bass stuff. And that's because I'm doing bourbon and bass because that's just what I love. I love the history behind bourbon. I love everything there is to do about bass fishing. So it's a lot about what I love, and hopefully you guys love some of the same things. But, I kept going back to, who are my heroes, and I keep talking about, if you guys follow on social media, you see I hashtag dream big on everything. That's because, guys, I'm a dreamer, and most of you know me. If you don't, if it's the first time you're watching, I'm a second-year Bassmaster Elite Series Pro, and it's not easy to get here. You have to be a big dreamer to do that, and that's who I am. So I want to tell you guys a couple of stories of some heroes in my life, people that I've looked up to my entire life to get here. And some of you may know this, and probably a lot of you don't, but if I'm looking at iconic figures in the industry, guys, when it was 1989, I was 9 years old, sitting on the couch with my dad, watching the 1989 Bassmaster Classic. that was on the James River in Virginia, and I watched Hank Parker hold up that wooden trophy over his head. And, I don't know if there's been a day that's went by since then that I haven't dreamed about that, about being on that stage and the opportunity to hold that trophy. And I got that opportunity last year. That meant a lot to me, and that's something that I'll never forget, is watching him holding up that trophy. And that's something that I've thought about ever since. And I'm gonna tell you guys a kind of personal story here that I haven't told many people. But Hank Parker, I've been around him a lot, whether it be the Classic, ICAST, or wherever, and I've spoke to just about anybody. I can go up and talk to anybody. But Hank Parker's one of those ones I've been around several times, and I just can't make myself go up and shake his hand and introduce him. I get butterflies every time that I see the man, just because he's been that guy for me. And I feel like a kid all over again. I was actually sitting eating at a table next to him, and he was by himself at the Classic this year, and I couldn't go over there and talk to him because in my mind, I don't want to bother the man, and I know he gets approached all day. And, he's one of those guys, but I absolutely will one day, and shake his hand and hopefully tell him what he's meant to me in my life and my career. But guys, if you ever have that dream, whether it be bass fishing or something else, there's that moment that you always go to, that you always think about. Well, that moment in 1989 when I was 9 years old is that moment for me. I've always thought about that, and that's what has driven me to do everything that I possibly can just to get here. Second hero, guys, and it's okay, you can have a couple, but that's kind of the memory that's always been there since childhood. The second hero, when I started fishing the Bassmaster Opens 5 years ago now, there was one guy on tour that everybody knows, Mr. Clay Dyer, that I have been so fortunate enough to become and call him friends now. And I've never told him this, and nor will I ever tell him this, but it's always been a dream of mine to spend some time with that guy on the boat and just spend a day on the water with him. There are certain people that I truly believe, there are certain people that are put on this planet for a certain reason, and God put him here, and he's one of them. I respect that man more than a lot of people in this world. And he actually gave me an invite last week to come spend the week with him and his wife, or a couple of days with him and his wife before we start our season back at Eufaula in a couple of weeks, and I will absolutely take him up on that. He doesn't know that I'm saying this, and I wouldn't say this to him, but I don't think how much he realizes how much he's meant to me in my life and so many people across the country. Because that man is gifted. That man is gifted by God, and to be able to do the things that he's done just shows you how big his heart and his faith is. And I have the utmost respect for them. So I'm going to get to live out another dream, a big dream of mine here in a couple of weeks. And I can't tell you guys how much I'm looking forward to that. And I do have a third hero, guys, but it's somebody that was so responsible for getting me here, but unfortunately that person is not in my life anymore, and regretfully. So we all have heroes. We have personal heroes. We have heroes we talk about a lot, and we have some that we just can't quite talk about a lot, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. But you guys, I really wanted you guys to learn about some of my heroes, what they meant for me, and guys, I challenge you guys, if you have that hero, and a lot of you guys a lot of people out there just don't like to talk about it. They don't like to talk about the people who have influenced them, or a dream that they had, and because they're scared somebody's going to think it's dumb or it's stupid. But I challenge you guys, put it out there, do a video and say, hey, here's my heroes. This is why I love to do what I do, and let people learn about you, because that's the whole point of me doing this series that I just started, Bourbon and Bass, because I wanted you guys to learn who I am. That this is who I am. I love history and stuff behind bourbons. I love bass fishing, of course, and in some of my heroes that I've looked up to my entire life, and they mean a lot to me. So guys, share your stories, please do, guys, and we'll be back next week, and we're going to talk about some other things, and we're going to get back into techniques. But I really thought it was important for you guys to listen to me and kind of hear some of the stories that I had. And I encourage you guys, share them with me directly. I run all my social media and everything, and I put this on YouTube, IGTV, Facebook. I put it everywhere. I'm not going to just put it all on YouTube just simply because I want you guys to watch it any way you possibly can, so you guys can get to know me a little bit better. But guys, I do appreciate it. I hope, I don't know if this helped any, but this has kind of helped maybe figure out, maybe teach you guys a little bit more about me. My heroes, my backstory, because that's the main goal. I want you guys to know who I am. My name is Dyer. I'm a second-year Bassmaster Elite Series pro on tour, and I am a dreamer, and I hope you guys are too. We'll see y'all next.